Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Guys, welcome to our show today. The show is for you and it's about you. Those of you that work so hard for your money, and you're ready for your money to start working harder for you now. You want that freedom, you want the cash flow, you want that prosperity today, not 30 or 40 million years from now, but you want it right now. So you can live that life that you love, doing what you love with those that you love. But more importantly, guys, it's about creating a life of freedom and a ripple effect that goes much beyond you, that creates something that's much, much bigger than you. And that's why I'm here today, to create that ripple effect with you guys as well. Thank you so much for joining, tuning in, sharing and binging and talking about all the good stuff you guys have been doing. I really appreciate hearing all those good stories. So thank you so much. As a reminder, check out our website, moneyripples.com. You can also go and subscribe on our YouTube channel, the Money Ripples with Chris Miles page. So check that out. All right, guys. So I got a special guest here. So that's just, why do you just keep giggling?
Because I'm just sitting here listening.
I like smiling. Smiling's my favorite. So I've got a guest I've been trying to get on since episode number whatever, forever. This is a very special guest, probably one of the most amazing, powerful guests I've ever had. No, it's not Robert Kiyosaki. It's much, much better, guys. It's my wife, Adhis Boucha. Anyways, I'm bringing her on because the thing is that this is not a one-person show, right? Like, it's not just it is a Chris Miles Money show. Don't hijack it. But, but it's really much more than that. It's something goes beyond me. I'm not in this alone. Like, this is my partner in crime. This is my secret weapon that I'm bringing on here today. And so I'm going to let Adhis do more an introduction of herself, more than anything in your background, because many people have heard little bits and pieces about you, including the fact that you were like the first approved, I think, person from the state of Utah that taught Dave Ramsey course and things like that, which people would never think I would marry a Dave Ramsey instructor of all things.
Yeah. So just to clarify, though, I was the first approved financial counselor.
Oh, sorry. Financial counselor.
For Utah. And so my name is Adhis Boucha. I have a company called New Money Mama. I work with mostly women and emerging entrepreneurs in regards to mindset and how to kind of get out of the rat race. And usually it's people who want to get out of corporate and do their own thing, or women who think that they cannot create a large amount of abundance or prosperity in their family's life because they're not the main breadwinner. So I think we met because we were competitors at first.
Well, the first time we met was actually at a conference.
Yeah. So that's a story for a different time, but
no, we should go there.
Right.
we should definitely go there.
No.
Okay, so before you see the amazing man that I am right now, right? You go back almost 10 years ago. I was working with a different company. Many of you guys know that company, but I was working with a different company, and while I was there, he put up a YouTube video, or not a YouTube video. It was a video. It was an interview that he did on Fox News with Neil Cavuto. And he basically got ripped apart by Neil Cavuto, right? Mm-hmm. And out of this audience of 100, he's kind of trying to explain, it's like, I didn't understand what was going on. And then this woman in the middle of the crowd basically says, hey, if you would have done this, this, and this, you wouldn't have got burned so bad. And just kind of came out and said it. Totally intimidated him, which you don't see happen very often. And that's when I was like, that woman is awesome. I don't even know who that is, but she's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, we kind of went our own different paths or whatever for a while, and different spouses and everything else. And then, what about 7, 8 years ago when I launched Money Ripples, then we're in the same entrepreneur space, right? And it wasn't great then because, for one, the guy that did that conference, the way we got introduced was, hey, you teach Dave Ramsey stuff, Chris Miles will fix you.
Isn't that a great intro?
Yeah. How'd you feel about that?
Uninterested. So mostly irked. Who the heck wants to meet somebody and say, oh, there's something wrong with you. Somebody else will fix you. Let me introduce you to the person who's going to fix you. So he comes in not knowing that's how he was introduced. And
remember, I thought she was cool. She's like, oh,
yeah,
Mr. Mansplain.
Yeah, that's nice. And that was it. I didn't really care anything for you. And when you sent me a friend request back in Facebook, when everyone used Facebook, I was disappointed, but I was polite and I accepted the friend request. When you started your business and reached out to me then, say, hey, I'm starting, a new company, and I think there's stuff I could teach you. It just kind of triggered that first introduction from a year or two prior. And so not interested, just like, oh, that's good for you. Thanks. Click, so.
That's so you guys know the backstory was going through my head, because that's what was verbally said, right? It's like, I can take you under my wing and teach you something, was what I said, which obviously for those of your women, you already know that this is going nowhere good fast,
it's
right?
a bad intro.
I
think even the men listening who have wives know, like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Even the men were like, "You're a moron, Chris." So I mean, so I remember, like, there's people that inspired me before. They died in a plane wreck when they're 35. I was 36 at the time, and I was like, wait, like, I'm just starting to get this out. Like, my kids are too young. Like, they're not going to get everything. I'm doing, I was doing recordings and podcasts at that time too. But I'm like, I gotta, who could I teach this to, that if I die, they could still keep teaching this stuff. And the person that in my mind, I thought, well, that popped in my head, that I thought this person could probably do that, was Adhis, but that's,
now it's flattering.
It's flattering now, but again, I didn't want to make it sound like I was some psycho weirdo, like I might die, I'm having a midlife crisis, all that kind of stuff. Right. So that's
I probably would have listened though.
Probably would have listened. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But eventually I wore off on you, which is good.
Wore me down.
Wore down.
So why do you want to have me on the show?
That is a great question. I think people want you on the show more than I do. But
okay, so there's a lot of things we can talk about, and I know you like keeping your shows short.
Yes. So let's talk about this. So I want to give them the background on you, because you're not just some crazy person. Now I want you to go back a little bit farther too. I want to talk about, you were born in Venezuela, right? You came to the U.S. when you were 7, got raised here, but you went from like middle class to poverty as an illegal immigrant coming here, right?
You probably don't want to mention that here.
You're not anymore. This doesn't matter. But I mean, you basically were. I mean, you came legally, but then you eventually.
I just saw your subscriber rate go down. But
that's right.
That's all right.
If you guys have a problem with that, we don't give a crap. So there's plenty of you listening. So, so tell us more about your background, because you had a cooler background than I did, I think, because you had these extremes, but you also had this dad that was like getting into Tony Robbins, when I never knew who Tony Robbins was. I knew who like Tony Little was, the guy that was on infomercials worth of workouts.
You can do it. Yeah, we learned that too.
Yep. But yeah, tell them more about your background there too.
I was born in Venezuela to dad who's Colombian, mom Venezuelan. And when I was 7 years old, my dad saw some writing on the wall really early, and he wanted to get out of Venezuela. So he thought, let's go to the United States. So we left the comfortable, middle class in Venezuela, moved to Southwest Florida. And after a few months, the money ran out. Some people took advantage that we were immigrants and charged higher. And so the money ran out rather quickly. And we had to move then to what we could afford now at that point. And it was a roach infested duplex apartment on a canal in Florida. And so we lived there for years, and it got to the point where my dad was working 3 under the table jobs and my mom was working graveyard shifts. She had gotten her nursing degree. And it was just cockroaches, hand-me-downs, electricity or phone being shut off regularly, waking up on Sunday morning to get into the car for church and then going, where's the car? And my dad calling the cops thinking like somebody stole our car, and the cops letting us know your car was repossessed, So that's what we grew up in. It was poverty. But during that time, like when I started realizing we have less than other people, are we poor? And my dad, that was not allowed to be said. It's like, we're not poor. Poor is a state of mind. We're broke, and this is temporary. And it depends on the trajectory that you're going. You're going down or you're going up, and we're going up. And so, poor was a 4-letter word, literally and figuratively. And the thing is, I remember from that time is riding in our, wood paneled station wagon and listening to this like really passionate man talking on this cassette in the radio and just on all the time. And that was Tony Robbins. My dad would go to thrift stores and find, personal development cassettes and cassette sets. And he found one for Tony Robbins. And we would listen to Bob Proctor and Robert Allen, Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley. And,
the greats,
a lot of people that at first I thought was annoying, but some of the stuff stuck in my head. And I watched my dad take risks, and my mom and dad both like, hey, we can do this. We can try this. And they started business and went through middle class. And then by the time I was 18, 19, they were doing really well for themselves. And beyond that, you know, earned millions of dollars after that. So I got to see everything. Mm-hmm. I got to see all the traps, the potential traps for when you're poor and you're tempted to believe that the circumstances around you are permanent. You know, it's easy to go, well, we're surrounded by cockroaches. This is our destiny, you know, or, you know, this is just the lot we have now. And then I also got to see the traps of like getting complacent when you're making some progress and it's tempting to get out of your goal. And then I also saw the traps of like people who come into wealth, and just there are traps in every level. So anyways, that's the long story, I think.
Yeah. That's probably actually the short story. You can go much longer than that. You can have read a whole book on that experience too, but you should like, yes. And, but I mean, so you have this background. So guys, I want you to know that this woman was actually raised in this mindset of what I'm teaching way before I was, right? Like this woman, now you didn't have the conditions of that. Like you had the various conditions. It wasn't like you had a silver spoon in your mouth growing up. Like you were still broke even when you were college age, and you know, you had to go through life that way.
I had to learn through my own thing. I couldn't just like, oh, my parents are rich now, I'm set for life.
Right.
Like I had to go through my own personal hurdles, my own mental poverty, my own mental like middle class, my own mental wealth. I had to go through all those levels myself. Every person does. Yeah. Because otherwise you could just like receive mom and dad's money, but then it just goes away because you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So. You're not a good steward of it.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about like right now. Okay. So we're now in 2020, wrapping it up. Yeah. You know, yes, exactly. Shoot. I mean, the fireworks might be amazing this year or might be horrible. There might be
bombs.
There might be bombs. I know. It could be, you never know. Right. Yeah. But I mean, so right now, like there's a lot of people listening and people are in fear. Right. There's a lot of people freaked out. Yeah. So we talked about this last night. Like there's a lot of people just holding on to money, wondering what to do. They're kind of scared. Like maybe I'll just hold on to this ride a little bit longer. Yeah. Maybe I'll have a job. Maybe I won't. You know, what is it you're seeing? And what are some of the problems of that thinking when you hear that kind of thing being said, or those people coming out feeling that way?
I think a lot of things. So you have to get more specific, because I think a lot of things. Like, what is the problem I see with that? Hoarding onto it. Okay. Sure. Well, you're hoarding. Woo, who feels so prosperous when they're hoarding, right? Whether you're hoarding mac and cheese or hoarding dollar bills, y'all, you know, it doesn't feel good hoarding. Because we can see in nature doesn't even hoard stuff. And anytime there is a situation in nature where there's hoarding or there's stagnancy, there's also mold and stink. It's not prosperous. There's not fish living in a just moldy pond thing. So, the problem with that on a personal level is that it makes people afraid to try anything new. And so there's always opportunity. And if you switch your brain into the hoarding aspect, then as opportunity is going by, as it always does, you won't see it. And if you happen to get a glimpse of it, you won't have the courage to act on it. So then you're letting all this opportunity go by because you're so busy on the hoarding. That's your mindset. So that's one personally. The second thing is if you have family and you have kids, they don't know this is a temporary situation because their childhood is just going. And that's when they're learning the lessons for life. For you, you might think, oh, that's only this for these next 3 years. But for a kid, that's like a third of their lifetime as they process life. And so if they're watching this mentality, you're actually teaching them to take that with them into adulthood. Okay. And
wrong ripple effect.
It's a bad ripple effect, because people who are hoarding think differently. They take different risks. They date different people. They vote differently, you know, so you look for solutions in different places. And so you don't want to pass that on to kids. The bigger aspect of it is that when a community starts watching each other and thinking, I need to hoard that. I need to hoard toilet paper. Then somebody's like, oh, I didn't know I needed to hoard toilet paper, so I need to go get toilet paper. And so everybody starts getting this mentality of hoarding with money or whatever. And that stops the exchange of value. So people will stop hiring, or they'll stop buying certain things. They'll say, oh, I got to hold on to this. Well, whenever you hold on to this money and you're not buying a service, that's another family that's not receiving income, right? So then that triggers their fear of like, oh, we're not getting enough money. And so they're hoarding to the little bit they have. So now they're not paying for whatever it was that they were going to pay for. And that's another family that's not getting money.
And that's what creates a Great Depression.
It creates a depression. It creates deflation. It creates later inflation because then things become scarce, you know, because people aren't producing. So
right.
Does that wrap it up?
Yeah. Basically, scarcity sucks.
Yeah. Like a vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Like it really this sucks everything out. It sucks money, sucks life. It sucks everything out of your life. It really just destroys it.
Yep.
Yeah. So flip that. Now, from an abundance mindset, where do you see opportunity right now?
A lot of opportunity. Okay, we can talk. So in 2007, 2008, for example, I know we don't do stocks anymore, but back then I was doing stocks. And when I was seeing everybody dumping their stocks because they were all so scared, it was like me picking up things for sale, you know? And so my strategy has typically been do the opposite of what everybody's doing. And then that takes care of me. So because most people aren't aware of their emotional waves. We all have these emotional waves where we feel something, we're like, it's awesome, or it sucks, you know, but you can't make the decisions right up there. And, but most people aren't aware that they're taking actions at the top of their emotional wave. And so I kind of just write out, I freak out too sometimes, but I wait till it comes down and I'm like, do I still need to freak out? Nah, I'm going to go buy what they're dropping, you know? And so opportunity right now, gosh. Well, I can talk about, so one of my clients and I were talking just the other day, and she has seen her business grow exponentially in the last few months. And she was shocked. And I said, the reason that you are getting so many customers and clients right now is because the field is being cleared from the people who are scared. So there's less competition, where if she would have done it last year when everybody's like, woohoo, you know, it's just less eyes because now people have to decide between more options. So as people are afraid, there's less options on the stage. And so now you have a higher percentage of people who are considering your product or service. So that's one of the big things I see right now with entrepreneurs is just less competition. I mean,
it's true.
In the very beginning of the lockdowns, it seemed like there was tons of competition because everybody was trying to pivot. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to make an online program, or I'm going to sell this on Facebook. But over the next several months, people have their, what is that word? Like their will has weakened, their faith has weakened, and they've become afraid. And so a lot of people who started strong, they can't sustain. They can't sustain that fake courage. And so they fall away. And who's left? The people who can do it. I mean, real estate right now, real estate's been challenging, kicking people's butts because there's such, the inventory is being challenged and the prices are being inflated. So who's falling out? The guys who are like, I got to pay my family. I'm too scared. Let me go get a side gig. But my friends who are like, I'm a realtor, I'm going to make this work. They're still in the game and they're still making money right now. And there's less competition as far as realtors. So
it's true.
Okay, I can go on, but.
And I'm sure nobody would disagree with that. So, hey, not me.
True. That's true. Go ahead.
So, okay, let's take this turn because obviously we work as a couple, right?
Yeah.
And we both came from previous marriages where we were in charge of the money, and then we had to get together, and it was like this rude awakening of we had this power struggle between it, and it seems like we kind of got to a place where it's a lot better of working as a partnership.
Yeah.
Primarily because I'm not just trying to be a lone wolf. That's been the biggest issue with us is me not trying to be a lone wolf and just doing things because I feel like it.
Yeah, because you're used to doing it by yourself.
So you mentioned before, like a lot of the women you serve, right? Like are often the ones that feel like they don't have that power in the relationship because maybe the husband is the breadwinner or maybe brings in majority of the income. And we have people listening there the opposite of that too. There's husbands that feel that way too, where the wife is the breadwinner.
Yeah.
What kind of advice do you give these people? Like how do they work together? How do they feel empowered when they're not making the money, whether it's the husband or the wife?
I think people just need to stop giving so much money to power to the money. Like I know we both have money in the name of our businesses, but really when it gets to the core of things, it's about feeling prosperity when the world challenges to not feel prosperity and also freedom. I mean, that's really our currency.
Yeah.
Chris and I's currency is freedom. So,
I just heard the Braveheart music going in the background.
yeah. Yeah. So, and it sounds generic and it sounds like a Hallmark sentiment, but the truth of the matter is that most people want a lifestyle that they think only like $1 million can get them. Of course, $1 million is getting a lot less now, but they think that only when they have a certain amount of money, then they can feel freedom. Then they can buy the type of groceries they want for the family. Then they can actually go on vacation. And the truth of the matter is that it's not. The thing that's holding you back is what you believe that money can allow you to choose. Now, money does expand options or maybe expedites the application of some options. But when I'm talking with women, the first thing is to address, why is it that you feel disempowered? Well, I'm not making the money. Okay, well, when did you first feel disempowered? Oh, it always comes down to some younger age where you're not responsible for money and it has nothing to do with money. So really, when people show up to money, they're bringing with them already the belief system that they developed about how free they are, about how much power they have over their lives. And, I really can't go into detail in just a short show about, what would I say to these women, or honestly, men as well. Geez, even the men.
The men have issues too.
Yeah. And so it's not a gender thing. It's not even an income thing. I see this with people. I've lived through all the money classes, the economic classes, and I've seen this very same conversations, the very same fears, the very same limiting beliefs in all of those economic levels, even with people who are like bringing in millions a month, and they still have the same fear. It's not about the money.
It only amplifies it. If they have more money, it just becomes more apparent.
Or looks even weirder to the outsider world. So I guess I would just say is just to be aware, those belief systems that you have around money, did they exist before or after money? Did they exist in other places of your life, in stages where you're not responsible for money, where, that wasn't a big thing for you? I don't know. Just know that's not even about money.
So what's the one thing they could do, or to really come to an understanding to help them get over this hurdle?
Okay. So it's the thing I learned from my father when we were living in a roach infested apartment, and he had to scour through thrift stores to buy, cassette tapes for $1, $2, $3. It's to fill your head with something different. So we all have these looping beliefs. I call them looping lies, especially if there are things that keep us feeling disempowered or unsatisfied with life. And those play all the time. You might just wake up and go, oh, my back hurts. Oh, work is so hard, or like you're going through the day and you're paying for groceries, like, whew, got enough for that, but how are we going to pay for this,
Right.
So these little looping lies are always showing up in our brains somehow, in our actions, our thoughts, and we don't even think about it. So we have to counter that. Okay. It's like arm wrestling. You're just letting them win. Blah, right? So you need to put some other force there that can create resistance at first. And so that can look at like, podcasts. It can look like videos. It can look like books. It can look like going to conferences. It can look like listening to mentors and people who are more optimistic, and that's really where it starts. Because if you don't believe anything better is possible for you, then why even try, right? We hear people say that, why even try? I already know it's not going to work. So you have to put in the words and the messages that say, this might work. And how has it worked for people who are in the same situation or in worse situations than I was, or that I'm currently in? So now I just wanted to add a little caveat. Yeah. When you're doing that, it is like arm wrestling, because now you're putting another force there and you're fighting, and that fight hurts. It's painful because it's two conflicting belief systems now creating resistance for each other. And so that's where most people quit. They're like, it hurts to have faith. It hurts to believe. It hurts to get my hopes up, because what if it doesn't work and I put all that struggle and all that energy and all that investment, right? So the trick is just to keep doing it until you allow that thought to win, one. You only have to win one time. You only have to win one time. And then that becomes a memory that says, wait, I won that one time. what if I could win a second time?